Hi everyone! I'm very excited because today I get to use my new pressure canner cooker to make some turkey stock. Yesterday I cooked up a whole turkey and now I have all the leftover bones and skin that I'd like to turn into some turkey stock. Normally I would just boil the bones on the stove for 12 hours and then freeze it once it was done. But today we're going to try pressure cooking it and then using the pressure canning setter on this gadget to can the jars. So last night when I was done carving my turkey, I put all the bones and skin and the neck of the turkey in this pot that goes into this pressure cooker canner. We're just gonna fill it up and put it in here to let it start making the broth. We're also going to add just a little bit of vinegar. I have white vinegar on hand, so I'm going to use that. It just helps release all the good stuff from the bones. Open up the pressure canner. We're going to plug her in. We're going to twist the lid shut, pressure cook. We're going to go for 2.5 hours. And start. Okay, the stock is done. It's been cooling and it's safe enough for me to handle. The next step is to strain it. I like to use a fine mesh strainer when straining my broth. I find it does a good job at getting all the little bits. We're just going to place a lid on it and pop it into the fridge. It's the next day. Our broth, our stock rather, is nice and cool. We have a nice layer of fat that's developed and we have a good jiggle going on. I think this is the best jiggle I've gotten from a broth ever. So I'm very impressed at what the pressure cooking did. We're just going to take the top layer of fat off. The reason we're taking the fat off is because the fat can stop our jars from getting a good seal when we're pressure canning. We're just going to take off as much as we can. The fat will not go to waste. I'll use it to cook some vegetables later in the week. Look at that jiggle. That's what you want to see from a good stock. People will say that pressure canning will ruin the gelatin in your broth. For me, I'd rather have a broth that is easy to use on my shelves than having to remember to thaw something in order to use it. It's worth it for me to pressure can the broth, even if it does ruin some of the gelatin. I think there's a good balance of both, having some freezer broth and some pressure can broth in your house. All right, we got most of the fat off now. I'm happy with that. We're gonna put the fat in the fridge, stock back on the stove to warm it back up to being a liquid so we can put it into our warm jars and get it canned. Our broth is up to temperature. We're gonna take our warm broth and fill up our hot jars. And we're gonna fill up the jars until we reach 1 inch headspace. I'm very happy with the color of this broth. I don't think we're gonna have enough broth to fill up this. this last one. That's okay. We're gonna put a reusable lid on this guy and pop him into the fridge, and we'll use him for lunch. For the other 3 jars that we will be canning, we're just gonna put a lid and go fingertip tight. There we go. Our 3 beautiful jars ready for the canner. So I've already filled the canner with the 8 cups of water that I need in the instructions. Now we're just going to place our jars in. We're going to put the lid back on. Turn it to closed. We're going to push high and then set the amount of time. So we need 25 minutes. We need 25 minutes for quart-sized jars for turkey stock. We want to make sure our valve on the top is at exhaust, and then we press start. And you'll see the wheel start to spin. And we're gonna just let that happen until we reach temperature, and then it'll beep and give us a E10 code. The E10 stands for exhaust 10. It'll count down from 10 to 0. Once it reaches 0, we'll switch the weight from exhaust to airtight, and our countdown will begin for the 25 minutes of pressure canning time. The pressure canning is done. I've let it exhaust naturally for an hour. Now let's open it up and see what we have inside. Okay. Ooh. I've heard a couple of the jars clink already, so the pressure canning has been successful. I'm very happy. That was a much less intimidating process than I expected it to be. Thank you for joining me on making this turkey broth, and we'll see you in the next one.